Hello, welcome back. It is week 176 on Out on That Line. I'm Jeff, and this week, in honor of it being opening day for baseball season, a national holiday, in my humble opinion, we've got a pinch hitter. We've got frequent co-host of the pod, Tanner. How you doing?
Jeff, I'm great. I mean, both of our teams got some nice wins earlier here on opening day. And I feel like you and I are about to get our own little bonus win right on top. Really excited to dive in and talk about, what we're going to talk about. But always appreciate getting the call, stepping in, strapping on the batting gloves, digging into the box. And, I'm always taking that first pitch unless it's right down the middle.
Yeah, and thankfully, our boys in Coheed gave us one right down the middle with their latest album, Vaxis 3. The father of make-believe. Folks could probably have guessed what we were going to be talking about today, given the scenery in my background here. These are the ones I had room for on the back of my couch, folks. There's plenty more Coheed where that came from, I promise you. The big reason why we had Tanner come in this week is because he is just as big of a Coheed nerd as I am, a fellow child of the fence. I was looking forward to this album, as I know he was, and I think we can start off by saying this version of Coheed versus the second stage turbine version of Coheed. If you were to play these two things back to back, I think people would be able to tell, hey, that sounds kind of like the same band. But the fact that it is the same band is crazy to me.
Yeah, and I'll even take it a little bit of a step further and say, yes, I was massively excited for this album to come out. But just Window of the Waking Mind, I had some kind of problems with it as a whole. And I'll kind of touch on it as we go on here, but like the main thing for me was that they were steering so into like the synth and leaning into the pop, which is like totally fine. They've done that many times before. That's not anything new. But Claudio Sanchez, he has his solo project, Prizefighter Inferno, and that's very synthy, and that kind of isn't my style, but I always respected that he kept it kind of separate. And then I felt like that kind of bled over into the Coheed stuff on the last album. And I still saw them tour it, I think, 3 or 4 times. So it didn't keep me away from spending my money.
And don't try to tell me that A Disappearing Act didn't absolutely slap live.
Oh, and yeah, and there are good songs on that album. Like, do not get me wrong, but you yearn as a Coheed fan that, came in right when In Keeping Stupid and Silent 3 came out. It seems like ancient history now, but the beautiful stuff that Coheed always did for me was like the album, top to bottom, is great. It's strong, and usually like give me a nice, 3 or 4 part kind of compendium, sometimes in the middle, sometimes at the end, which they obviously did on this one, and they did on the last one with the Window of the Waking Mind with the 5-part thing at the end. But like, there's a lot of stuff on that album that didn't connect with me, and I went into this album very, very cautiously optimistic. I was like, they're still in there. It's either going to be synthy again or it isn't. It's not going to, he's not going to have a foot in each door. And so, yeah, just was very excited for this album. Big friend of the pod and fellow child of the fence, Brandon, reached out to me, I think when the first single came out, was like, yo, I'm going to pre-order this. Do you want one? And I was like, yeah, mark me down. So I was in, I pre-ordered the last one too. But yeah, no, like just a lot of, for me, this album didn't have a lot of kind of momentum in terms of my fandom of the group going into it as previous albums, even like Vaxis 1 going into Vaxis 2. But again, like obviously, these guys pumped 104 mile an hour fastball right down the middle here.
Yeah, I didn't like Vaxis 2 as much right off the bat, and I really, really grew to like it a lot. I think there's some really classic Coheed, moments on that record. Not as many as Vaxis 1. I still think The Dark Sentencer is like one of the best songs they ever wrote. I mean, that thing goes. It's so heavy. But I mean, like Vaxis 2 has some great ones. Like I love A Disappearing Act. I know that was part of what you didn't like. Now, how well that fits in the kind of Coheed universe, like as far as it being Coheed versus Prizefighter Inferno. That could be arguable. Certainly I wouldn't really like argue with somebody if they said that doesn't really fit with the rest, because it's true, it doesn't. But I really enjoy that song. So for me, I think I'm always going to give Coheed and Claudio like way more of a pass than, hopefully hopefully they never really deserve a pass or need one, I guess. But I will give one anyway. I didn't really know what to expect from this record until I heard Blindside Sunny during the tour they did last year with Incubus. And I think you went to see that same tour, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to friend of the pod, Kyle Fisher. Helped hook up some free tickets in a suite at TD Garden to see that show.
Awesome.
And yeah, which was like really, like, we were, lengthwise at TD Garden. We were, kind of at the back of the bowl looking straight ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So like all the lasers and everything the Incubus employed was really, really cool. But
yeah.
like pretty cool. But like Coheed, saw them on that tour, and saw them open or co-bill with Primus. Not that long beforehand. I got it written down here. I saw the Coheed Primus show on August 13th, and then I saw them open for Incubus on August 31st. So twice in a month, sign me up, obviously. I'd see Coheed 10 times in a month if I could. But it's interesting because I have a feeling that you enjoyed Blindside Sunny without like the context of the rest of the album.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, it kind of missed a little bit when I saw them play it live, and I saw them play it live twice. But it kind of, I was like, oh, it's like this, like the direction they're kind of going, like back kind of to the leaning more on like the scream and like post-hardcore element, which has always been there. Like it's always been a part of their thing, but like, are they really leaning into it, But again, whenever you go see a band that you love and they're like, hey, we got a new record coming out and we want to play you something new, a lot of people don't like that. I don't know why. But like for me, the beauty of like seeing a new song, right? You'll always remember where you heard it the first time, either on the album or when you saw them play it live. So, and it was the lead single. And also they had that other song that came out before Blindside Sunny, The Joke.
That was a
single.
Yeah, so that the Joke Deranged, it was like a 45. I got it. But it's the no big deal. Coheed merch collector, no big deal, folks. No big deal. So that was like a separate thing. So one of them was on the old, like one of the Batman Arkham games, Arkham
City,
I think Deranged was the one that was on that, and then The Joke I think was one that they just had that's been kicking around for a while. And they just wanted to put it out. So they like doing their little 45s, like they did that Jesse's Girl 2 one also about that, so they like doing those little projects. They like releasing things on cassette. A lot of people are doing that now, but Coheed's been doing that for a while. So they enjoy, I think, the process. Like Coheed and Claudio specifically really loves getting in those like nitty gritty details. Like the synth stuff is Claudio. I'm sure the other guys probably know about it and are probably fine with it because obviously they're in the band that's going on. But Claudio's the one that's like, he's got a room full of that stuff. Like when he goes to cities and they have a cool like old electronics store, like he makes sure he goes and sees that. So someone like Giorgio Moroder is probably as much of a hero to Claudio as people think like Geddy Lee is, even though he'll deny that he's a Rush fan to this day.
Yeah, it's too on the nose.
Whatever like Claudio says his hero is, I feel like somebody like Giorgio Moroder is probably looked at just as favorably for him because it's just another way to make noise, basically. It's another way that you can kind of find a different way to do it than other people have. Think about Daft Punk, like how memorable that is. Think about Kraftwerk, some of those old records, like some of that stuff, it might sound like computer generated, and that might get used as like a pejorative, but a lot of the stuff takes a lot of talent. And I think what Claudio likes doing in Prizefighter Inferno, and I'm kind of like you are, where it's not totally for me, but I appreciate it because he's got that creative itch he needs to scratch, and I think that's admirable that he's not really forcing that into the Coheed narrative. I think as much as it's frustrating for him that it kind of has to be a certain way, it drives also a certain kind of creativity for him where he's like, okay, I have to be in this box. I have to be in Heaven's Fence, right? I have to be in this area, but I can do something weird with it. Like they've never really done a song like Blindside Sunny. That's just a straight up punk ripper. I mean, they've done some like The Crowing did that too. A couple songs on In Keeping Secrets, and then Welcome Home certainly was a really heavy record. But I don't know if I'd heard one that sounded like a really sloppy My Chemical Romance, like out of control punk song as much as that did. And then that plays right into Play the Poet, which is a banger. I mean, the first time I heard Play the Poet, we were talking about having chills in the last recording we did together.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a song that did it to me. There is a run that this album goes on, basically starting with Searching for Tomorrow all the way through One Last Miracle, where it is just as Coheed as you could want, brother. There's so many different versions of it too. It's heavy. He screams, he sings, it's got backup vocals, it's got those little poppy Coheed moments with the little gang vocals. Like it's got everything you could want as a Coheed fan is like right there. It's so good.
I would even argue, I agree with you that there is this run that they go on this album, like right in the middle. I would even go back one more and add Goodbye Sunshine to that.
That's classic like pop Coheed.
Dude, exactly.
Yeah.
That is like bread and butter, like, you know what I mean? It's not super proggy. There's not a lot of screaming going on, you know what I mean? But it is like just again like straight up Coheed, the guitars, like and it hits you right off the bat. Like I'm going into it, headphones on, the night it came out, midnight, 12:01, whatever it was, Eastern, that Thursday night. Yesterday's Lost starts, and I'm like, okay, is this going to be another synth heavy album? Okay, we're starting it out with something kind of slow and symphonic, and I don't get my question answered on this first song. I'm still very curious. Goodbye Sunshine, right for a second. Like, oh, okay. Good.
Yeah.
Coheed is so fucking back. Searching for Tomorrow, right off the bat, the guitars rip, big time breakdown, huge.
Oh, yeah.
There's like that metal section. Zach Cooper's bass line at parts in that song, he's going like crazy. And usually a bit more of a subdued kind of bass player, you know what I mean? Like, no offense to the guy, but he doesn't usually do things in songs that make you kind of like stop and go, oh, what will, because Coheed has a billion things going on already. So like the bass doesn't need to be going crazy. But yeah, like they're all throughout this album, but really on that song, Zach's bass line comes through. And a bigger thing for me about the whole record is like everyone gets featured at different times. Like there were little, Josh gets some crazy borderline drum solos, at least drum breaks. Like, and then obviously, the guitars they do what they do, but just a great blend of like, it's nostalgic without like hitting you over the head and like saying, hey, this is nostalgic. And they kind of do that on Someone Who Can. Like that song is kind of the song that kind of hits you over the head with like, hey, this is nostalgia. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, that's good and fine, but like this whole thing's been nostalgia from the beginning to here. So like you don't really have to like, the music videos, them in a van and stuff. It's like you don't have to hit us over the head. We get it. Like we get it. We remember when we were young and you guys were young releasing this and we were young listening to it. Like but yeah, like the run of Goodbye Sunshine, Searching for Tomorrow, Father of Make Believe. I just have at that point, it's borderline unrelenting. Yeah. At this point, as you're listening.
Yeah. Gives you a little break with Mary of Mercy. That's that song. So the one thing I think we have to point out, we probably can talk about multiple times as we go through this, is Josh Shepard's drumming.
Yes.
It is there were so many moments where, because he was always a great drummer, right? So he drummed for them from the first record up through In Keeping Secrets, and then or up through Welcome Home. No, up through In Keeping Secrets, and they had who was it? Who was the drummer for?
Well, I think he was the drummer until was it Chris Penny came in?
Yes, I think that
And
was that Year of the Black Rainbow. Was Chris Penny?
because Taylor Hawkins, yes, because Taylor Hawkins
Taylor
played
Hawkins,
the parts that Josh wrote on Good Apollo
the No World for
2.
Tomorrow. Yeah,
Yes, because that's I
yeah.
believe when he went to rehab.
So I think Chris Penny was the one that was on Good Apollo 1.
No, it's still Josh.
Still Josh, okay. And
And
then
then
Chris Penny was after. Okay. He was Year of the Black Rainbow. Okay.
For Afterman.
Yeah.
Ascension and Descension.
Josh came back, I think. I thought he came back for Color Before the Sun.
Well, Color Before the Sun's after. No, he's back on Afterman.
Okay.
Because that's when Zach comes in as well, I believe.
Yes.
And Josh also got co-writing credit for the segues between the songs, which is kind of like usually it's just like Coheed and then Claudio, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like Josh gets his name in there a little bit
Yeah.
on the Afterman there.
Yeah. I think also it's definitely still Claudio's baby. Right. I don't think there's any question about that. But I think because they're at a point now where they've been so successful for so long, and Claudio's not a jackass. Like, he knows, how much work. Like, Travis has been there since the beginning. Like, he's the only one other than Claudio that's been there from day one the whole time. Josh has been there most of the time, and then Zach has been there, I guess, the shortest of all of them, but is still, I think, at least 12 years, a decade or 12 years or something like that he's been with the band. So it's like, these are guys that have been doing this together for a long time. And I don't think Claudio he's never struck me as somebody that cared necessarily about having complete and total creative control. I think the other guys just always seemed like they were fine to let him have it. I think that was always more of the sense that I got. And if they had ideas and they brought them to him, like, I don't never saw Claudio as somebody be like, no, that's a bad idea, that doesn't work. But I think because it's a storyline, it's part of the Amory Wars, and this is the Vaxis part of that. I think a lot of it is just left to Claudio to do because it's all coming from him. As far, Josh isn't helping write the Amory Wars. Like, Travis isn't helping write the Amory Wars. Maybe they're giving some ideas, but that's a different part of Claudio's, like, kind of professional endeavors. And then
yeah, sorry to cut, but think of it like, Pete Townsend and the Who. He was writing Tommy. He was writing Quadrophenia. The rest of the guys in the band, obviously massively talented, and they jumped in and, contributed, but it all kind of came from, one guy's brain. Just as, the Claudio stuff, both with the storyline and with the music, the actual, like, composition of the tracks. But yeah, no, the drumming by, like, I have it written down. Josh Eppard classic drum part on Mary of Mercy. Just like, it's that classic, like, there's like off, he hits the snare on the off, and he plays with a single bass pedal, and he plays open hand. And if you've never been to a Coheed show, he's like the most entertaining one to kind of watch, like on stage. Like, he's a massive drumming influence for me. Going back to Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth Part 3, hearing that for the first time when I was in like 6th grade, and I was like, I want to do that.
Just the way that he had, like, the bass drum just right along with the guitar riff. Oh god, that was so good.
Like, and again, like, the beauty of, like, Coheed is that, like, they all get their chance to shine. Claudio's not taking a crazy solo every single song. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a vanity project. It is a band, but it just kind of comes from, one guy's brain at the beginning. Also, on Mary of Mercy, like, in the chorus, if you're listening with headphones on especially, there's, like, this acoustic picking that's kind of going on, like, in the very, like, back of the mix there, which is just a credit to Claudio and Zach Cervini, I'm not quite sure, the co-producer of Vaxis 3, but also he did Vaxis 2 as well. Just like, I'm a huge fan. Obviously, you know that like Alex and I are like big Steely Dan guys, and like part of the beauty of that kind of stuff is that there's crazy layering, and every time you hear a song, you can notice a little thing somewhere like in the back of the mix.
Mhm.
And it's a testament to like the passion behind the project and the time that they spend in the studio and in the layering. Where in a day and age where like a lot of really popular artists, you could make their music with a electric guitar and a USB interface.
Mhm.
Like to have this kind of craftsmanship on a record still, obviously a breath of fresh air to music heads like us.
Yeah, and I think that producer definitely deserves a shout out too, because this record was clean.
Mm-hmm.
As far like the listenability. So, I always, Alex and I will always listen a couple different ways just because it's, you've got real life going on too. So it's like you kind of fit these in where you can, and so you do it headphones in the car, over the speakers. So I'd listen to it over the speakers on CD, and then I listened to it over the speakers on vinyl, and then I had it on my headphones, and I had it on, in the car when I drive back and forth to work for the last week or so. So it's like I'm just absorbing this in a bunch of different ways, and like each place that I was listening to it, it still sounded very dynamic. Like no matter where I was when I was listening to it, like I was getting every layer that I wanted to in the car, and I do have pretty good, sound system in the car, not to brag. But also in my headphones, there's kind of different things you pick up sometimes too. I think that little acoustic picking, like in my car with a little bit of road noise and stuff, isn't something that I really could catch. But with headphones on, it absolutely was. And on the vinyl, it absolutely was. So it's just very interesting to kind of hear how it sounded in different ways, but and have it sound great in each instance. But a song like Mary of Mercy, that hit so hard in the car where it didn't hit quite as hard like over headphones. Maybe because I'm driving and I'm like a little, heart's going a little bit, and then they hit that big chorus, and it's just such classic. It reminded me a lot of like Mother Superior, like that version of Coheed. Just these big, huge choruses. We talked about it with Spirit Box last week. Big, huge guitar riffs, heavy, and then just a really clean vocal over the top of it. And that's what that was. I hope Claudio's going to hit every single one of these notes during this next tour, because some of these songs live, like especially this, when Josh gets that drum beat going during that chorus, oh man, it's gonna hit so hard when they play these live.
Yeah. I mean, the cliche of what like the 70s and 80s, hair metal bands and stuff, it was always like, oh, you gotta have a big ballad,
Mm-hmm.
just as hard as you rock, you gotta have a big ballad. And I never really like, obviously we grew up in the 90s and everything. I never really believed in that. Like good ballads are great, but not every band needs to put out a ballad.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously is a band that they can do pretty much any kind of song. Like they are so talented and so um their music is second nature to them. Their instruments are second nature. So if they're gonna do a ballad, it's gonna be this awesome epic with a huge chorus that again, like you hear it and you're like, wow, I can't wait to see this performed live. And Brandon said the same thing to me, on his listens. He was like, there are a lot of songs on here that I really cannot wait to
Mm-hmm.
hear performed live, and not to keep like dunking on Vaxis too, because there were some songs on there that I really did want to see performed live, but there were a lot of songs that I could have had never seen them play live. Play something else from your catalog. Um, give me Al the Killer over almost anything any day. But
Mm-hmm.
this album is like, oh man, what are they gonna play? Where are they gonna sequence it? You know what I mean? Are they gonna like sequence, a lot of bands, they might come out and they might start with Yesterday's Lost right off the top and then hit that crazy run of songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time they get to Mary of Mercy, you're just like a bloody stump in the pit.
Yeah.
Like, but no, like it's big. Then like, we kind of again like turn it over, back into The Rock's you know, you got a breath, and then right into Blindside Sunny,
Yeah.
which I didn't realize how short it was. 2 minutes and 22 seconds.
Oh, it
It
is.
is.
That's a punk burner, baby. I loved it.
That is stick and move. That is stick and move.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's the kind of song they can add to any set list, and it's not gonna. Nothing's getting pulled to play the 2 minute 22 second song.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, that's fine. That's totally fine with me. It might not be my favorite on the record, but if they play it at every show that I see them in perpetuity, it's fine.
Yeah, Blindside Sunny was it was pretty polarizing, I think, within the fandom, because there's a lot of folks that have come into Coheed like lately, you know, that and not trying to say like, oh, I'm an old school fan, like they're not as good or anything, but the version of Coheed that is most popular at the time that these folks have come in is not the version of Coheed that would have played anything like Blindside Sunny. So, you know, a lot of these, like Vaxis 1 brought in a lot of new fans for Coheed. Vaxis 2 brought in even more. The kind of songs that were on that, there were some heavy songs for sure, but there was nothing that was like a ripper like Blindside Sunny is. So I think there's a lot of newer fans that, you know, are like, oh, this is kind of like crazy of a song. Like it's grating on your eardrums. And I don't disagree with them on, like, if that's their criticism of it, it's fine. But there was a lot of people that would basically, you know, do the, you know, the mansplaining version of like the James Franco and the Noose, the like first time. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, is this your first time hearing Coheed do something like this? And it's like the first, let's think of a song like Al the Killer, you know, and he's like, die white girls die, you know, and there's
Oh
this
man,
song,
yeah.
and what is it, Back Into Forever, when he's like, pull the trigger and the nightmare stops. I mean, they
Mhm.
literally had to put a little note in the liner notes saying like, this is a story, these aren't meant to be taken literally, you know. So like there's a version of Coheed that a lot of us knew something like Blindside Sunny was still in there somewhere. And I think a lot of folks that are new to Coheed have found out, you know, just the kind of depth that we're talking about here when it comes to this band.
And again, it's a 2 minute and 22 second song. Like it is so in and out so quickly. But again, where they place it on the album is really important. And I love album sequencing. I love the time it takes for them to be like, oh, this goes, you know, like this goes here, this goes there. It's one thing if you're going to do a lot of interludes in between songs, because at that point it doesn't really matter because you're connecting them anyway. Which they've done in the past, which is like totally fine. But this one, you know, you go Blindside Sunny, which is like you're borderline shaking by the end of it.
Yeah.
And then you get into something like Play the Poet, which also just, I don't know, fucking rocks. And like Born to Play the Poet, fire your words like bombs and bullets and aim for my head. Go on, aim for my head. You were
Yeah.
just talking about lyricism like this. And like just like the way that Claudio sticks and moves with the lyrics when he drops them in, the band is just cranking on all cylinders. The chorus on that song is so good. The bridge is like crazy distorted and there's crazy stuff going on. Like for me, the beauty of Coheed is that like that prog rock influence. And it's never like too much. Like it's just enough. Like just enough. Give me a couple of measures of some crazy different time signature, or have crazy stuff going on the bridge, and then get back to normal. You know, like the guys are just like this. And I know that I was kind of late coming around on the Afterman stuff, but I even see those albums like they kind of exist on their own. They're like way more metal and like obviously like awesome. But like this really lines up with your Good Apollos and in Keeping Secrets, like and even Second Stage Turbine Blade to a certain extent, like you alluded to earlier. Like it's just like crazy because like the first Vaxis album came out and it's very good, and that's really like a Coheed potpourri. Like they throw everything at you there. You know, they got the Dark Sentencer off the top, and then you get into like poppier stuff, and Heavenly Creatures,
All on Fire,
Billion, The Gutter, Old Flames, Just some of my favorites off that one real quick.
Mhm.
Just a quick shout out for those. But like, you go play the poet, and then you go into One Last Miracle,
Mhm.
which reading it, you might be like, oh, is this going to be another slow song? Is this like another kind of ballad? What is
Mm-mm.
One Last Miracle going to sound like? And
Give me
no,
that pop heat, baby.
that's not even how he pronounces miracle. So
No,
like you're wrong. Like you don't even know what's happening.
not even how he pronounces beer.
Like, that's not even how it goes. It does the like classic drum hits, like the Josh Shepard, the bound out, bom, 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 bom.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that. It's like that for me was just like a big warm hug. Again, just being like, yep, they're still in there. They still
Oh
got
yeah.
it. Like, um,
That
it
gave
gets
me One Last Miracle gave me very much could have fit on like um the No World for Tomorrow album. Like
mhm.
easily could have fit on that because that was a very like in my opinion, there was obviously some heavier stuff there, but that's one of my favorite albums by them. Like I think it goes for me in Keeping Secrets and then No World for Tomorrow. I think there's very few people that agree with me that that's the second best Coheed record, but for me
I I might be. I don't know, man. I
because it's
think
got
I'm in
like
that
to me
boat with you.
it's got feathers. I mean, you've got
Yeah.
No World for Tomorrow. That song bangs, dude, bangs. I mean, it's just I love No World for Tomorrow. I love Good Apollo, but In Keeping Secrets and No World for Tomorrow I think are my top twosies for sure.
The Hound of Blood ranks on
Oh
there.
yeah.
Justice and Murder's on
Yeah,
there.
Justice and Murder is a banger. They don't play that
Uh,
one nearly enough.
the Road and the Damned. I have a
Yeah.
super soft spot for that song. That's a big chorus. Like, yeah. No,
And
I
Superior.
think that my
No,
yeah,
that's on.
Most Superior. Like,
Is that
no,
on? Yes, that's right.
Most Superior's on there too. Like, that's for my money. Like, that's the number. Like that's that's your
Yeah.
silver medal. If you're
Yeah.
talking like In Keeping Secrets is like the golden goose.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, this would totally have fit on that. Um, it's that poppy. It's like feathers with a little bit more zip.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's that feel.
Yeah. I think One Last Miracle. The first listen, you're like, oh, this is just kind of. It almost felt like the parts of Vaxis 2 that you don't like. You know what I mean?
I write my note. This is as close as they got to the sound that I wasn't a fan of on the last record. That's
Oh
the
wow,
note that I have written.
that's great.
Yep.
Well, I guess when we've been friends for half our lives, that's kind of how she goes.
Mhm.
But like that, but it was still incredible. Like the more you listen to it, the more you realize like how perfect that song is on this record because it's such a perfect balance to a song like Blindside Sunny. You've got all the violence and aggression and everything you could want packed into 2.5 minutes, and then you have One Last Miracle where you're like, this is just Coheed Sword in the Clouds, baby. Just absolutely fantastic. The way that and again, I'm going to bring up Josh's drumming again. I think that is a huge reason why a lot of these choruses sound so big is because of that bass drum. It's got such a groove to it. He does not use a double kick. He uses a single kick pedal and he play. I wonder what his like ability for like beats per minute is with that like over a sustained period of time. I bet it's super high because there's so many points on this album where you're like, how is he not using a double kick right now?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like until you watch him play or like watch like a YouTube thing where you can like there's a camera and you can see his foot going because like even when you see them live like he's up there on a riser you're not looking behind him like you don't know what he's playing. Um, there's a great as a drummer there's a great channel out there called Drumeo.
Mm-hmm.
He did a Drumeo feature video 8 months ago, and what they do is they just bring you in the studio. They have you for like 3 or 4 days. And what they do is like, hey, you ever heard of this band before? And they'll do a series where like you got to play a song you've never heard before, and you play along and you try to like come up with a part.
Mm-hmm.
And they do other stuff where like, oh, try to do a cover of like your favorite crazy song. But the main feature is like they give you like an hour, and he sits down, and the host guy, Brandon, like picks the songs that he wants them to play. So it's Josh in the studio with his drum set,
Mm-hmm.
along to the backing track. They just pulled the drums out of the recording, and watching him in that setting was really what put it over the top for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know when you post this if you guys want to like link it or whatever in the info.
Oh, we could.
But it is so, and you should like, it's an hour long. It is so awesome because he's a very aloof and funny guy too.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of good interplay between him and the host guy. Like,
Yeah.
it's just,
because that guy is funny. The host of that is funny.
yeah. Brandon's funny.
Yeah.
He's funny. Oh, and by the way, the thing that they made him learn, like Rush learn to then record, was Message in a Bottle by the Police.
Yeah.
So
difficult.
They don't give that to any, jabroni drummer.
But I think it's perfect because I think Stuart Copeland was the drummer for the Police, right? He used a single kick. So I think it's perfect because I mean they weren't going to they're not going to be like, here's a Gojira song.
Yeah. Oh, he
learn
plays
it
some Dream
perfectly.
Theater.
Yeah. Although they did have Mike Portnoy on that channel, and that was cool.
Very recently. He was one of the most recent ones that's come out.
Didn't they give him Tool? They gave him like Numa, I think, or something like that for Tool.
They gave him something crazy. And also, like, I'm not a big Chili's guy, but they had Chad Smith on there, and that was highly entertaining. Like,
he did the 30 Seconds to Mars one, right?
Yes.
Well, that to me, because it was cool, but it showed me how bad 30 Seconds to Mars is because he sat there and he listened to that one time and played exactly the drum part. Yeah, not even a beat off, like the same thing. And it was his first run through. He's like, yeah, that's what fits here. So that just shows how creative the drummer for 30 Seconds to Mars was.
Hey, sucks to suck.
Yeah. Well, what do you say we start talking a little bit more about Coheed? I feel like feel like you and I are so much better than me and Alex at spinning off into oblivion on some tangents.
Let's get back. Again, we talked about like how like the album kind of does this. The next song is "Corner My Confidence," which is like maybe the most beautiful acoustic Coheed song they've ever come out with. I don't know. I
think "Wake Up" still takes that.
That's what I have next to it. I'm like, it's the best one since "Wake Up."
Yeah. Fair.
I said it, and it fits in the pantheon of the great Coheed acoustic songs.
Yeah.
I Corner My Confidence, and Together We Break the Mold. Like somehow it's like for a guy that does crazy lyrics and it's all like a crazy story over 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Sometimes the simple stuff is great, and I'll bring that up again in a later song. But like sometimes the simple lyrics just work, and you don't have to be doing crazy things. And it's just a lovely little song. It's crazy to think that it's longer than One Last Miracle. It's almost longer than One Last Miracle and Blindside and Study combined. But no, again, another nice little break. And then you kind of like, as I was listening, I was like, okay, this is probably going to be the last acoustic one on the album. So we're going to be kind of ramping up to the end here. But yeah, no, it's just, it's a lovely song, and I am really hopeful that they play it live, and it's just him. I hope the guys walk off the stage, he gets the acoustic on, and they just put a spotlight on him. And that'll be a very special moment.
Yeah,
if and when it happens.
They might have Travis up there to play along with it, because they've both done a lot of just the two of them acoustic stuff at like radio stations and stuff like that over the years. So I think they're both very comfortable doing that. I wouldn't hate doing it either way, but I think they're very good at like layering their acoustic guitars together that it would make it sound really, really, really cool.
That's true. Yeah. And again, like more, I'm a drummer, so like usually the more instruments the better, right? So if there's another guy picking in there, Travis is in there picking over the top or whatever, or they add like a little guitar solo section. This is also where like somebody could sneak up behind and like play some like synth pads in the background to really like fill out the bottom end. That I'd be okay with too.
Yeah, I think they're gonna, that one I think is gonna be one that he does do. I think he's happy with how he wrote that. I'd struggled to get through making that sentence and getting my thoughts together there, but I think that's one he's very happy that he wrote. And it's funny that you can have a band that writes a song like Welcome Home, and it's like, call somebody a whore in sheep's clothing, and then can write a song like this that's just as sweet as can be. and it's really, I think it just shows Claudio's range with songwriting, because I think there's not a ton of people that can write a believable acoustic love song and then also a song on Blindside Sunny and put them on the same album and they both make sense.
And I also agree that, like, there are a lot of bands of Coheed's era, and I like Taking Back Sunday, but I'm going to give them a little bit of a shot here, because they're touring with Coheed again, this summer, and I saw them with Coheed several years ago. I want to hear them play songs off of 3 albums. Nothing that they've come out with since Louder Now is anything that I want to hear. And I've listened to those albums. I haven't just written them off. I checked them all out. There's nothing on there that garnered my attention. And again, Coheed, very different. They're still churning out stuff you want to hear live, even on Vaxis 2, which I said wasn't like my favorite. There were still songs on there that I really wanted to hear live and did hear live and enjoyed. So a lot of these bands, the nostalgia thing is really big right now. The We Were Young Fest that started a few years ago, right? Like, My Chemical Romance came back, but they're not releasing new stuff. They're still doing the nostalgia thing, which is fine.
Yeah.
But a band like that still has got it. They've still got the fastball to keep in with the baseball references.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing it's always been so rewarding to be a Coheed fan. That's the thing, is that and I hope everybody has a band like this, and if you don't, I have one for you.
There's one here.
we got just the guys for you. So, like, to me, it's always been so rewarding being a Coheed fan, because I know the effort is always going to be there. And because he made a commitment to this storyline, at first I thought it was going to be just the Emery Wars, just that kind of 5-album cycle. And then we get the Aftermath. And then we get Color Before the Sun, because he wanted to do something outside of Coheed. And then we find out we're getting a whole new 5-album set that he announced there was an album coming out. And then a little bit after that said it's actually part 1 of 5. And everybody's like mind blown. And then we find out it's going to be connected back to the Amory Wars. This album that we're talking about tonight kind of brought back the serious Amory part of things from the Afterman albums. And we're not, I told you before the show, we're not going to get deep into the lore and stuff, but I think it is worth pointing out that there is a lot of callbacks on this album to past albums. So as always, you have your kind of, well, not as always, because they don't always do it, but the kind of suite of songs at the end. Now that's generally where you're going to hear Coheed at their proggiest, kind of at their most out there. I think the best example is the In Keeping Secrets and Good Apollo albums. I think those are, especially from Fear Through the Eyes of Madness, the first Good Apollo album. Those 2 suites of songs are some of the craziest prog rock and metal that you're going to hear, and some of the best things that Coheed's ever done. Now this suite here, I was really, really, really looking forward to. And this is going to be maybe my only real criticism of the record, but I liked about half of this suite. I don't know how you felt about it.
May I ask, it's not going to change mine because I got it written down. May I ask which parts you like? Because there's 4 of them.
So loved Welcome to Forever, Mr. Nobody.
Okay, cool. Exhale from me there. Cool. Yeah. We're good.
Loved The Flood. Was not crazy about Tethered Together or So It Goes.
It kind of,
Now I like that they tried something very different with So It Goes. Is that very like kind of jaunty sort of, it's like, it sounded more like, it's the Decemberists doing Coheed, kind of thing, and it just didn't hit.
Yep. Me. It's like a pop feel. Again, I said they're getting close to what I didn't like on Vaxis 2. They're getting close. Again, it's fine. Like it's not, I'm going to skip it when it comes up, but it's just like, and again, like we've been through so much on this album, that it's fine that we kind of like, it's a soft landing, it's a soft landing out. The what I really liked was like the symphonic minute 45 and kind of how it matches up with how the album starts. I like those bookends.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the notes that I have on Continuum 3 tethered together is like Claudio still got the pipes,
Yeah.
like you showcase some of the pipes there. But yeah, really minimal notes for me on most of these. Like, Welcome to Forever, Mr. Nobody. Might be my favorite song on the album. And it's just for that line. Like that, I don't know how to really explain it. Like, there are better songs I think on the record, but that line and the way that he sings it, it's so Coheed to me. It's like a part of my DNA.
Yeah.
That like when the first time he sang it, because he doesn't sing it every chorus. It's like only at like the very end, and it's like, yep. For me, it was big time. Similar vibes to like Back End of Forever.
Oh yeah.
The end of that song.
Yeah,
which again, like
chills.
that, yeah, like, and it only happens at the end. Like it's not every chorus, not every time it goes through. But yeah, like I agree that like the first two, Welcome to Forever, Mr. Nobody is like really pop rock, but it leans on the rock side a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The flood is big, the drum part is big, the mix is great, and then we kind of crest the wave a little bit, and then So It Goes is like a nice kind of landing. I like think about like a song that sounded like So It Goes in the middle. It would be kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
To know that it's the last song on the album when you're listening to it is like a nice little, okay, this is fine.
Mm-hmm.
This is fine. But yeah, in terms of like if you rank this 4-part, the Continuum up against some of their other multi-part stuff, it's not like their strongest as a suite. It has some great songs in it and some moments, but like, because you mentioned the ones that are off of Good Apollo 1 and 2, right? You mentioned it was the Willing Well.
The Willing Well, especially, was fantastic.
Willing Well, and then Incomplete is off of is the one off of No World for Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I would say that my favorites are the Camper Valorium or the Valorium Camper, whichever you call them.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some massive argument happening on the internet somewhere right now still about, is it Camper Valorium or is it the Valorium Camper?
Yeah, who knows? Their songs are bangers. That's all that matters.
Correct. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just
Back
whatever
is Forever, Al the
before
Killer.
the number.
Yeah.
Eight of Hearts, right? Like, whew.
Yeah.
So again, like, it's good. Is it the best suite they've ever done? No. Is it better than the suite at the end of Vaxis 2? For me, yes. Like, yeah, big time. But again, it's a nice little landing. This is the kind of thing where like I kind of hope they don't play all 4 of these to like end the show, because to fantasy book this here, the way that it would probably go is if these 4 end the show, they're going to come out and they're going to play Welcome Home after it.
Yeah.
And it's a fine song. I've heard it so many times. It's fine. Usually, if I'm being honest here, when they start playing that song, that's when I go to the merch table.
Time to go, yeah.
And I go, because like the line's usually gone at that point, and I just grab my stuff then.
Now there's some times that I want to hear it. You know what I mean? I'll stay sometimes, and other times I'll go. If I haven't got my shirt yet, I'll be like, all right, now's a good time to go.
Yeah. Like I think the last time I saw them and they played it, well, I mean they played it at TD Garden and stuff, and they played it in Maine, but when I saw them at where the hell was it? Roadrunner in Boston. They played it, and I was like, yep, run it out, because the merch setup there is kind of far away. And I don't know if you know this about Coheed fans, Geoff, but they're crazy when it comes to merch, and the merch line is super long the entire fucking night.
Yeah. Well, it's because they always have some exclusive. There's a record that came out with a tour exclusive color, but the records it's crazy because you can really only get them if you get like the VIP or like the Mage Pass or whatever.
Yeah, and also like, and Claudio signed this one with his ass. It's like, cool. It's still the same music. Like,
I
that's
did
cool.
see at Half Price Books here in Austin. Marlo, wife of the pod, was actually the one that pointed it out to me.
Mhm.
It was like a framed Coheed signed poster, and it was like from like the live in the Starland Ballroom or something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So very
But
old. Okay.
it was like $300.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
enough
was
for me,
like,
dog. Yeah, it's
it's a big no for me. Because I remember finding at Goodwill or one of the record stores or whatever that I've got a No World for Tomorrow CD
hmm
and it's signed. I just ran like has
yeah. Boom.
signature in there.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was $3. So
Yep. That's all you need.
yeah.
Like, you got it. Like,
So I told her, I was like,
like
yeah, I already have one of those.
my friend Megan, she goes to like Goodwill and stuff, and she got me Willie Nelson's book. Um, and she's like, "Yeah, it was $2. Here you go." I was like, "Oh, cool." And I opened it up, and I was like, uh, yeah, this is signed." And he like drew like people in
Nice.
it. Like, it's like drawings. And I'm like, "Oh my god, yeah." So again, like, for $300, like, just buy the VIP ticket and go meet them and tell them how much you love their music. Like,
Get something
if you're
signed.
dropping that
Yeah.
much, yeah, yeah, and bring something for them to sign. Um, yeah, like, the the one drawback of like the Coheed fandom is the people that are like selling stuff for crazy expensive online, or like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, this vinyl only got pressed once. Second stage turbine blade, for instance,
Oh yeah.
hundreds of dollars for one of those. And then they were like, yeah, actually, we're gonna do a repress.
Yeah. Do you
Hell
remember
yeah.
the debacle with that? Yeah. Thankfully we each got our copies. But
We got out of there. We got out of there. Okay. But yeah,
yeah.
like, it's that weird intersection of like the fandom and like the obsessive, but they've never played like major arena tours. So it's like a
Mhm.
small nucleus of like really
Yeah.
obsessed people. Um, but hey, Coheed is so fucking back.
Yeah. Big time back. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, obviously, folks, buy it. Buy it. Buy it. Buy it.
Buy it. Go see him on tour. They're doing like a double tour this summer. One's with Mastodon. If you like Mastodon, good for you. Go to that one.
Although the guitar player just left.
Mastodon?
Yeah. Brett
Well,
Hines.
oops. Oopsies.
I think that was the one that the drummer from System beat up, right? Or was it the
Oh,
bass player?
was it the drummer or was it the guitar? I know the
No,
guitar player.
it was not the guitar player. It was not Darren Malakian. It was either Chavo or it was John.
The drummer is the Trump guy,
Yeah.
so
But
could be him.
I think it was Chavo. I think he was on, but he like beat him up pretty good. But that was what caused
Was that around
Mastodon
crack
like
crack the sky or whatever? Is
that's
that
what
yeah?
created Crack the Sky was when he was in the hospital. I guess he was having like these crazy dreams and like visions and stuff.
Hey,
Yeah, I can't remember if it was Chavo Odagian or if it was John Dolmayan that beat. It was it was one of the rhythm section.
yeah, I'm trying to find it here.
Yeah,
There's a lot of stuff on this that I don't know any of these people's names.
it was a while back, obviously. Yeah,
Oh yeah, I mean that album came out in 2009.
yeah.
One thing that I did want to mention is that um, the reviews of this album and kind of where it's sitting right now, it's still, relatively new.
Hmm.
But the last Vaxis record charted a lot better than this one. Which, we talk about like how it's a little bit poppier and a little. This one's still pretty accessible, I would consider,
Yeah.
but it's still relatively early. But the last one, it went at number one on the hard rock albums on Billboard, number three on top rock, two on alternative, and it got as high as 23 on the Billboard 200. This one right now, I want to say is in the 51 on Billboard.
Hmm.
So we just got to go out there and buy a bunch more,
Yeah.
and move that
Listen,
line a little bit.
where is it? I have the CD somewhere. Well, this is the liner for the CD. I have the record. I'm doing my part.
Yeah, this man's doing his part. What are you doing? What are you doing at home?
Clearly, I'm doing my part. Like
Yeah,
I've got like
like
8 Coheed shirts. I've like every record except for the impossible to find ones. Yeah. We're
I
deep in
mean,
this game.
The first time I saw them was back in 2010, and I bought a T-shirt then that now Anna wears.
Yeah.
Because I ain't getting on this guy anymore. But like they're just like a constant, and this is a great return to form, and really excited to see them. Are you planning on trying to hit the Taking Back Sunday one, or is the
Probably that,
Mastodon
because I
one
really
coming?
don't like so Mastodon I think is hitting Houston and Dallas. The Taking Back Sunday one I think is coming through Austin, so I think I'll go to that.
Right.
Even though Taking Back Sunday is terrible live now. Did you go to the last tour that they did together?
I did,
No.
but I will say that was pretty banged up. So
Yeah.
there's that. It sounded great to me, but also I may have been looking at the opposite side of the venue by that point, so I'm not quite sure. But I do know that I went back and looked, and they still have not played my favorite song. It was only the time I saw Taking Back Sunday, so I'm hoping they play it this time.
Which one's
But yeah,
that?
also, it's it is it's great. It's by Taking Back Sunday.
You heard of them?
Yeah, ever heard of them? I know the name that's in it, but I don't want to mess it up because there's another band that we like that has a song about this same guy,
Uh-oh.
and I don't want to get it wrong.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. It is called I Am Fred Astaire.
Oh, okay.
Like
Okay. Ooh.
it's really hard when you're a because I didn't
You know
want to
what? That
say
brings up
the
a good
Lucky
point.
Boys song.
We should do a Lucky Boys episode.
Oh my God.
We should do an episode about throwing the game for sure.
Throwing the game.
Or commitment or both.
Yeah. I mean, both of them would be great to do.
Yeah.
They came out back to back. Yeah, and they still do their one-off every year. It'd be great to do a mini tour because even if they just like came down south to Austin, I would fly down to see them.
Yeah.
That's like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. But yeah, I Am Fred Astaire, Taking Back Sunday, play it live, you cowards.
Do it. You won't. The old Taking Back Sunday would.
The old with the guy with Fred Maraschino cherries. When he was playing guitar, they would have done that.
Well, Brand New's getting back together, so maybe we'll get a fist fight between the two.
Again. The fight tour.
Yeah.
Hey, right on the heels of the Oasis family fight tour, we're gonna get the Taking Back Sunday.
The first time he plays 70x7 live, and Adam Lazzara comes flying off stage.
Saw Brand New play at Boston Calling many years ago. They did this weird avant-garde bit where like an amp fell over on the guitar player while he was playing, and like everyone thought like he was injured, but they kept like zooming in on him with the cameras on the screens. I'm like, this is intentional. He's still playing under there. Like, what is going on? I'm like, I'm just waiting for Death Cab to play on the other stage, and this is just what's happening over here.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I think the folks have had their fill of Coheed. Go buy the album, folks. Go listen to the album. If you love Coheed, you're going to love this. If you haven't listened to Coheed, this is a good way to get into it. But I'm going to tell you, folks, where you can find everything else we've done about Coheed. You'll find some stuff about Vaxis too. You'll find a whole deep dive episode that Tanner and I did about Coheed. And you'll find that at youtube.com/C/out on that line. Don't forget to click subscribe. Don't forget to hit that little bell so you know when we do a little something. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. That's really how we hear what y'all want to hear. So tell us what you want to hear. And Tanner, do you have any closing thoughts for the people this week?
Again, just happy to hop on. Obviously talk about, I love coming on and talking about other bands, obviously, but like whenever I can come on and talk about Coheed is very nice. Because there's a weird connection with this band and the city that we come from in Vermont. And I don't know how or why, but there's just a connection. There's many people that we went to high school with, and within like 6 years of like from when you graduated to 6 years after I graduated, where there's like a pocket of people that just love this band. And yeah, I don't know what it is, but very glad to have been indoctrinated in this band way back when in middle school. And again, we talked about it on the deep dive episode, but really a strong bond of our friendship was listening to music in your car and in keeping secrets, heavy play.
Oh yeah.
And as well as the first two Good Apollo on Burning Star Forest.
Oh
So
yeah.
the Coheed's still alive and well, and they're still touring. And as long as they're touring, I will be buying a ticket. And as long as they're putting out records, I'll be buying the record.
Hell yeah. I will do the same. And folks, till next time.